Wow. Welcome back to Sodi Pop right here on YouTube. Today is Thursday, June 11th. I'm Matty. This is Chatty with Matty, your source for daily gaming news recap. And then, of course, we just had the PlayStation 5 event today. We're going to cover that all and more. I have my drink. Let's chat. All right, so we're going to start off with here. A lot happened during the PlayStation 5 event. Number one, we got the console reveal. Number two, we got to see some accessories. Didn't get to see any price, and then tons and tons of game, both first and third party. I'm going to cover the actual console reveal first, talk about what I think about it, and we'll just go from there. So let's go ahead. So this is the actual console reveal trailer, if we can play it here. And it honestly looks amazing. It reminds me, I have my PlayStation Vita here, the white version that comes with the Assassin's Creed bundle. This is one of my favorite looking consoles just ever. I love how this console looks, to be honest. The controller, I was like, okay, it's a controller. You know, I wasn't like super sold on it, but now seeing this console, like all these slick lines, they are showing it vertical, which is how I have my PlayStation Pro here right now, is vertical next to my PC. So I don't normally have it vertical, but the way our place is set up right now, that's how I have it. So you can see it's this very slim, interesting kind of flowing architecture. Looks to go right in line with the actual controller there. There are two models, which I thought was crazy. They have one with a CD drive and one with a Blu-ray disc drive, and one without, that is all digital. So you can tell one is probably going to be a little bit $50, $75 more expensive than the other one. So a little bit more budget. Looks fan-freaking-tastic. Now it's interesting because remember those models that we saw with the big V inlet and there were 6 fans cooling the system? I'm not exactly sure where the system is going to be cooling. Are there going to be 6 fans? I mean, it looks like there might be. Again, all PlayStations have had just one fan from what I've seen. And this could have a couple of fans. You know, it looks like there's cooling all around, but that could also just be for show as far as the cooling. Now, the DualSense also comes with a charging station. They're showing off an HD camera here. HD, what does that mean? Just 1080p. There's a Pulse 3D headset, and then there's a media remote. I would assume they are going to have a package that you can have, you know, the PS5 with the CD with everything, and maybe that's like a $600, $700, $800 package even. Again, if you refer back to the Bloomberg article, the Bloomberg article actually mentioned a PlayStation 5 being anywhere from $450. They said it would be at production price to $500. You know, maybe $550. I think they need to strike something below $600. Even if they could hit like $500 even or $450 with that all digital model, that'd be awesome. But it seems like there's going to be now, of course, all digital, the regular with the HD Blu-ray drive, and then maybe a package with everything. I'm curious what that actual camera is going to be like. As someone who obviously streams, like, I want these next generation consoles to take that into account, and then I can actually stream the games I'm playing. There's so many good games coming out, and obviously, hopefully with that create button is meant to be seen. So we're going to zoom in. Now, this is actually a side view of it laying on its side. This was revealed later. I found this from a user on Reddit. The PlayStation 5 laying on its side looks really nice and slick. As you can see, on the top and bottom, we have both grills for, it looks like, the cooling system. I'm curious, will that actually be used? Are there going to be fans around that, or is that just for style? Because we've seen so many different systems. I mean, the PlayStation 4, for example, has little grills in between, but there's only a certain amount of space that they actually allot for real cooling. So I'm curious if that's going to be an issue, if they've thought about that. We'll see when they come out. The controller. Now, if you stayed after, if you're watching Summer Games Fest with Jeff Keighley, he did interview some of the developers. He talked to the Hitman 2 developers. He asked every developer he talked to about the haptics of the actual controller. He's like, what does that feel like? I'm super excited for it. I'm thinking back to the Switch controller. When they initially revealed the Switch controllers here, it was so cool thinking about how the rumble features, you know, they tease that so much. You can feel the marbles inside, you can feel the ice cube. That ended up to be kind of a dud. Yeah, you could feel the finer details, but the problem is the rumble itself is kind of weak. and it's not a real powerful rumble motor. You can feel some fine details, and they do some cool stuff with it, but ultimately it doesn't add too much to the gameplay more than normal rumble, in my opinion. Of course, you can be like, no, it was revolutionary. So Jeff Keighley was pressing some developers on the actual controller here, and one thing that a developer said was, we'll just zoom in the controller while I'm talking about it. One thing the developer said, he finally got a good response from Godfall developer, Bethesda, that's from Gearworks. They're coming out in holiday 2020. The controller has the rumblers and triggers, has a real hardcore rumble sensation. The triggers are context dependent, so they can release and add tension. So again, we talked about the idea of the bowstring, of like the further back you pull, and he talked about how if you had a bow, your most powerful shot would take 10 seconds to charge up and you'll have to pull back. It's like a real special sensation, and you want to feel that. And he said you can, but it's also, if that was every shot, that would actually be really tiring for your finger. So it seems like there is some really good feedback. He also talks about the rumble, how you can, he said like stereo rumble, so it could be left and right, so you could actually know where an enemy is coming from, or if there is an arrow that hits you, an arrow that whizzes past you, you can feel it in the controller. You can actually like feel the sensation of it going from one place to another. And he also talked about environmental sounds in the rumble, so again, sliding on different surfaces. We already heard that about Gran Turismo, sliding your car on different surfaces, where if you slide your person on different surfaces, you can feel that in the controller. And also he talked about different shields, so like it's going to have shields and weapon classes, and you can feel the difference between throwing a shield, something hitting your shield, between a long sword or a broadsword or a sledgehammer. Those have all different feelings in both the trigger and actually how the metal clangs with other things. That sounds awesome to me. I mean, ultimately you want rumble to be additive to the experience. It should never distract you from the actual game, and that all sounds like it adds additional weight to the experience, which is always good. Like, you always want a little bit of weight, and then Godfall looks amazing. Of course, we have the headphones, the dock, the remote. The headphones look good, but we'll see how they actually are, because of course we have the platinum and the gold wireless from PlayStation right now. There's some good and bad about each of them. A really long battery life is like a must for me now. The more I've been using the gold headphones, the more I'm like, man, I wish they had another like 4 or 5 hours of battery life that would just last all day. They do last a good PlayStation, but I want them to last all day so I can use them on my PC as well without having to charge them. But yeah, I think it looks phenomenal. Again, my white PlayStation Vita. All right, we're going to start with the games here. The first one on the list is Spider-Man Miles Morales. Now, technically, they did show off that Rockstar would be bringing Grand Theft Auto 5 to the PlayStation. That's great, but honestly, that's an old game. We're not here to talk about really old games. So Insomniac Games producing Spider-Man Miles Morales. Of course, he was in the original Spider-Man game. If you watch the movie Spider-Man, was it Into the Nexus or something, that animated movie, which is fantastic, by the way, I would say one of the best, if not the best, Spider-Man movies out there. Go ahead and check that out. Miles Morales is the main star. We can see that he's right here. Looks fantastic. Obviously, we're looking forward to that web slinging. Hopefully, we're going to see a lot of what Mark Cerny was talking about with the PlayStation 5 and how it loads in a city. And because with the PlayStation 5, remember that was the first showing to Wired, where we had Spider-Man flying throughout the city and it loaded everything in perfectly, where previous generation isn't able to do that just because of, again, that's mainly the SSD. And then, as Devs has said, the PlayStation 5 architecture. How much of a difference will that architecture make? I mean, we will see. Again, a lot of the games here look fantastic. They don't look, from what I see, too crazy different from previous generations, and that's like going to be it. Is we're going to, I think, feel the difference more in the AI, in the feeling of controller. We're going to feel it in the load time. Spider-Man, the tagline is "Be yourself." Be yourself. Come on. We're going to feel the difference more than we actually see the difference in these games, and that's just going to be next gen in a nutshell, I think, because next gen we're going to see some ray tracing and stuff. That's great. All right, next big game, Gran Turismo 7. They have a campaign coming. This game, I'm not too into the Gran Turismo series. obviously it's great for showing us good graphics. They did show off some gameplay in this trailer here, as you can see right there, but it looks pretty. It's a very pretty game. The cars look pretty. Obviously it's realistic. I was talking to one of my guys who watch my video all the time. He was saying like, yeah, Gran Turismo is great. I hate how when you crash your cars, there's no like good crash animation. And from what I remember of Gran Turismo is the actual, so here's the campaign, which it looks like Gran Turismo. The actual car manufacturers didn't allow Gran Turismo to scrape and dent and break the cars because they don't want anyone to see them unpretty without the makeup on, you know? So, I mean, if you're into car simulations, I'm sure it's going to be great. I'm excited to see more. I like getting into car parts and stuff here, but until there's more arcadiness to it, I don't know. It doesn't look super excited to me. I will have to probably see reviews or play demo before I am super into this. The next game they saw, Ratchet and Clank. Honestly, this game looks fantastic. I loved Ratchet and Clank when they brought it back to the PlayStation 4 as a remake of the first game. This looks so good. Ratchet and Clank on the PS4 actually looked fantastic. This keeps with that tradition. It really looks like a Pixar movie, but there's just more going on. So you'll see gameplay here. I'm glad they showed gameplay for this PlayStation 5 version. There's just a lot going on. You got to see some really cool weapons, which Ratchet and Clank is known for. If you haven't played that PlayStation 4, it's a fantastic platform. I think one of the best that's out there. I'm really happy they brought them back, and I'm happy they're continuing here. So we'll fast. I mean, we have gameplay right here. That's what we see. I mean, look at how quickly you're transferring to these worlds, how much detail there is. It looks really beautiful and lush. The last game felt really, really good on the PlayStation 4, so I'm super happy for that. And it did have grinding and rails and stuff like this. Of course, they're going to have new weapons. This seems to take place directly after the PlayStation 4. I don't know if it's a remake of the second game or if it's going to go its own direction. I don't remember the actual second game in the Ratchet and Clank series and like what that delved into. I don't think it was this. I think this might be completely new, but super excited for this. I think this will be definitely one of my top games. And so far we see that holiday 2020 will see the release of Spider-Man. Gran Turismo didn't say anything. I couldn't find anything about Ratchet and Clank either. So moving on, we have Square Enix with their project Athia. This looks amazing. Everything Square Enix does looks amazing. There's no hint other than that. I mean, it looks beautiful. Could this be a new Final Fantasy? I don't know. It looks amazing, but again, that's Square Enix. This doesn't look in engine in PS5, so there's not too much you can take from it. And it's very, I mean, this could be 5 years off, but this looks like gameplay. So PlayStation 5 development footage, that's cool. The gameplay looks sick. Like that looks really cool. But again, this could be so far off. I couldn't find any release date, couldn't find any other information on this as far as when we might be expected to see it. So that's something else I thought looked phenomenal. We also have, moving on, Annapurna with a game called Stray. Looks like you play as a cat. Humans are devoid in this world and robots are just like, they're living, it looks like you're in Japan and you're just, robots are living like humans and they act like humans, and then you're a cat walking around. We also had a whole bunch of from the worldwide studios of Sony. So we had this game called Returnal coming from House Marquee. Looks like a third-person action game where you're kind of losing your sanity. We also had Sumo Digital with Sackboy Big Adventure. Remember, Sumo Digital did one of the actual Sackboy games, or Little Big Planet games. So that looks interesting. It's essentially a 3D Sackboy game that looks like you have co-op, so you can have up to 4 players. IO Interactive, and that's coming 2021. IO Interactive has Hitman 3, that's coming January 2021. That's obviously going to be multi-platform. We also had Astrobot coming from Japan Studio. It's going to be a 3D platformer, of course, based off their Astrobot series, which was, PlayStation VR. We also have Little Devil Inside, which was looked fantastic for me. We're gonna go ahead and check that out. This looks so good. So apparently Little Devil Inside was actually a Kickstarter. We have it right next door here, and it almost looks like a Monster Hunter type game with a lot of whimsical humor. Has this kind of paper craft aesthetic, as you can see here. Looks so freaking cool. I mean, look at him going after this like werewolf. You have this mounting ability. He looks like he's pulling a trap here where he has a mine. He's also wading through a swamp and running from these little guys. So he's healing himself and then riding on these like penguins and sand dunes and riding on like a boar or something. He's there using a gun, riding on the boar. Like, so there's a lot of different weapons. He's a flaming sword. There's bats. It looks really fantastic. And then there's this other part of the gameplay where you're like this old man, and maybe you are playing him, but it looks like you're both, where you have like a Don Quixote, where you have like this older guy, kind of funny, and then you have this young guy who you're out hunting. This was like one of the standouts for me. I thought it looked really, really cool. We also have, oops, I got my pages mixed up here. Destruction All-Stars. So we'll stop there. Destruction All-Stars looked phenomenal to me. To start the trailer, you have like these guys running around. That doesn't look cool, but look, he jumps into a car here, and this reminds me of Rocket League. Like, look at how good it looks. You're destructing other cars. You actually at some point get hit out of your car and you're running around in third person. There's different power-ups you can clearly get. It looks like you can jump on cars, maybe blow them up or steal them. I'm not exactly sure how the gameplay. That guy just jump kicked another guy who was out of his car. You're in an arena, which is a dangerous arena. You can get hit. It looks really good, really physical. I think this is like one of my standout games. It's obviously not a AAA game, but this is like that level of Rocket League where it looks so fun, so fast paced. The car control looks really good. This was like the standout. This is one of the big standouts for me, honestly. So check out Destruction All-Stars. I couldn't find a full release date on this either. All right, so this is Kenna Bridge of Spirits. Looks really fantastic. This is from a new studio called Ember Lab. Looks very like Pixar-like. They actually do show some gameplay. You have these little guys around you, which are kind of like Pinkmen. So I stayed after. If you stayed after for the developer talk with Jeff Keighley, they actually said that you'll be collecting these guys throughout the gameplay. They are there in perpetuity, so you actually collect them. They assist you along your journey, and then as you use your bow or staff, they actually can power up those attacks. It looks really fantastic. It was one of the more surprising games out there for me. Obviously not from the big Sony AAA developer. Looks really, really good. The animation is slick. Again, very Pixar-esque. Kind of looks like the girl from the Unreal Engine 5 demo, to be honest. So go ahead and check that out. You can also check out some more gameplay there as well. So this is the gameplay. You have the little guys following you. Obviously, you got a double jump. Oh, there's no... So she obviously found one of those guys. So you're just adding them to your party. You can use them to move stuff. Looks really good, really rich. One thing I really enjoyed with this is that there is a richness and beauty to the environments. They looked so pretty, so green, so lush. Not every game was like really dour. Actually, there are very few that were. Moving on, so they have Ender Lab. They also had Goodbye Volcano High, which is another smaller game. Oddworld Soulstorm, which is again an Abe's Oddworld game. Another game that looked fantastic to me, Ghostwire Tokyo. So this has been shown before, but this is going to be on the PlayStation 5. Now, according to some information I found, this is from Bethesda, and it will be a PS5 console exclusive. So in addition to the first-party games, this will be a PS5 console exclusive. Now, this early part didn't look too crazy to me. It's like, okay, ghost floating around, sweet. I like the vibe. First-person shooter, like supernatural, looks fantastic. The actual gameplay looks really good here. Reminds me of a lot of like interesting games. Looks so cool the way it's shot. I'm super into Ghostwire Tokyo, so I might go ahead and check that guy out. Also, we have Jet the Far Shore from Super Brothers. We also have Gearbox with Godfall. So again, I believe the Godfall, we talked about them a little bit. We have seen a little bit of footage from this before. This is a kind of Dark Souls-esque hack and slash. You are meant to collect lots of weapons. You know, it's supposed to be kind of a looter slasher. Of course, the developer earlier said that you can really feel it in the controls from the PlayStation 5. And this again will be a PS5 console exclusive, supposed to be holiday 2020 for this. So this will be coming on release for the PlayStation 5. This actually looks fantastic. I'm super excited for this. I hope it feels as good as a lot of the other games in this style, and it looks really fast and fun. So we also have Annapurna with Heart Machine. They have Solar Ash. That is coming 2021. Developers for Hyperlight Drifter. IO Interactive with Hitman 3. We also have Astrobot from Playroom. Talked about before. We talked about Little Devil Inside. NBA 2K21. Young Horses coming with this game called Bug Snacks. They are the developers of Octodad. So really funny. That's coming also holiday 2020. And then who better than Shuhei Yoshida to introduce us to Demon Souls? We've hinted at what could Bluepoint be making. Well, Demon Souls was like highly rumored to be remade. Man, this looks so good. And this is like, if you don't remember Demon Souls, this is the opening to Demon Souls. You have these really cool environments, and then I didn't know it from this. I was like, okay, what is this? What is this? And then right here on the beach, you have these guys walking. That's what I was like, Demon Souls. This is it. And then of course you see the corpse being carried by, I think it's what, the Eternal Dragon or the Eternal One. That is like Demon Souls. This looks so good. Looks like they completely remade it. We don't really get to see gameplay footage here, but I mean, Demon Souls is a fantastic game. It is a classic. And then on PlayStation 5, of course, it's going to look great. I'm excited for instant loading between the actual shrine area, the area that you keep on going back to, and then the different worlds, and then hopefully automatic reloading after you die. These are all the big bosses. I remember the Tower Knight, where you have the two staircases on either side. Okay, Demon Souls is going to be fantastic, notwithstanding. We also have Arcane Lion Studios coming with a game they've shown before called Deathloop. So go ahead and check this out. They have shown this before. Again, first-person shooter. And it looks like you can play against other people. So you play as an assassin against another assassin. You keep on dying and being re-looped, and then you have these guys in front of you which are responsible for hunting you down and killing you. You have to go through, kill these guys, and kill 8 people before midnight. And you have all these powers that look fantastic. I mean, a lot of these powers you can see are directly from some other games they've done. So looks really good, really stylish, really violent. So go ahead and check that out. I'm super excited for that game. And that almost does it. We have a few more. One more that is, I think, the biggest one here is, of course, Resident Evil Village. Resident Evil 8, you have Ethan again. He happens upon Chris Redfield in the village setting here. It looks like first person again, just like Resident Evil 7 was. I'm expecting it to be awesome. Maybe this village has something to do with like the village from Resident Evil 4, so that could be looping back there. Again, creepy atmosphere. I'm so happy Resident Evil is finally going back to like the classic horror style. Of course, you're gonna have some gunplay in there, you're gonna have some people chasing you, but it looks really, really good. So go ahead and check out this trailer, Resident Evil Village. I'm pumped for that. There's also a few other games here. There's so much. So we also had Pragmata, look like you're living on the moon. Interesting game. They showed a trailer. We also had Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West. Also a really fantastic looking game. Looks like there's crazy snapping turtles. There's a full underwater element with huge crocodiles. Of course, you're playing as Aloy again. You have insane oily fonts and humans. If you remembered oily fonts from Lord of the Rings fame, they look exactly like those oily fonts, to be honest. In the far future America as Aloy heads west. That looks like a fantastic game. Oh my gosh, there was like so much here in this PlayStation 5 event. What did you think? What was your favorite game? I thought they did super well. They showed games, they showed gameplay, they showed a lot of exclusives, and they showed the console. I mean, that's pretty much all I wanted from this, and I wanted just some really good games to see. So I am super excited for this, and I'm excited to see what else this has. I'm excited to see and feel the console, and I want to see the price. You know, if it ends up being like $700, man, that'd be so expensive. I hope it's not, but again, we'll see. All right, guys, I mean, that about does it. There's so much to talk about. Again, there were like 26 games or something. Let me know what you think below. Again, my name is Matt. This has been Chatty with Matty, your source for daily gaming news, recap, and then, of course, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I will be eventually on Twitch coming up here soon. And then, of course, the 3Ts and IG, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and Instagram at SodiPopMedia. Remember to
be yourself
and eat a cookie. Bye.